want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever?
One life,
forever,
one love,
and ever.
one soul.
Today's January 23rd, 2020. I'm BrentNally, and I'm really excited to have my guest today, Dr. Alex Zhavoronkov. Dr. Zhavoronkov, but we'll call him Alex, has a bachelor's in computer science, a master's in biotechnology, a PhD in physics, and is the founder of Insilico Medicine, where he's been the CEO since 2014. Alex also wrote the book, The Ageless Generation, in 2013, Bridging AI and Advanced Biotech and Bioinformatics. Alex has a lot of other entrepreneurial experience and a lot of other projects going on. So without any further ado, Alex, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And Alex is hopping all over the world, busy, meeting all the time. Turns out he's actually in San Diego right now, and I'm in California. So I wish we could have done this in person. Always better in person next time. But Alex, why don't you start off maybe introducing yourself with any other details that you think are pertinent, and maybe talk about your recent travels and what you've been up to and what's most exciting to you in longevity right now.
Well, thank you for such generous introduction. So my name is Alex Zhavoronkov. I'm the founder and CEO of Insilico Medicine. Insilico is focusing on drug discovery using artificial intelligence. So we are developing novel methods for both discovery of novel targets in a variety of diseases, but also in aging, because aging is essentially what's driving many of those diseases. We also have multiple projects in chemistry, and specifically in generative chemistry, the area we pioneered, and we do clinical trials outcomes predictions. We collaborate a lot with big pharmaceutical companies, but we also have our own small molecule drug discovery pipeline where we discover novel targets, identify drug-like hits or generate drug-like hits, and then take those molecules all the way through preclinical experiments, preclinical work, all the way to IND and human trials. And essentially, we go after age-related diseases. But whoever wants to challenge us to an interesting target, we're game. We raised quite a bit of money, so we raised over $50 million over the past 5 years. Our journey was not smooth all the time, so there were times when we struggled and were burning kind of cash and running out of money, especially very early in our cycle. Nobody wanted to believe in this technology, but then we proved that some of those approaches work, and we got really, really amazing investors in. Some of the most exciting areas that we focus on are senolytics. So, of course, everybody is going after those interventions that selectively kill senescent cells. We also have xenoremediators, so molecules that reverse the senescent phenotype or a pre-senescent phenotype. We have anti-fibrotic programs. So fibrosis is a big problem in aging, and big thing in aging is not necessarily a problem. We also are going after very specific diseases like liver disease, so NASH, NAFLD, and other diseases of the liver. We're going after respiratory diseases, and of course, we are going after cancer. So I'm extremely excited about all of those directions. We have multiple therapeutic programs progressing. And on the AI front, I'm especially excited by the performance of generative adversarial networks and reinforcement learning. So this is kind of imaginative AI linked to AI that learns strategy. And we use that technology for both identification of novel molecular targets in diseases, but also in aging. And we also use this technology to generate novel chemistry. So this technology, we kind of pioneered the first applications of this tech to small molecule generation in 2015, 2016. Nobody believed us, but now it's used ubiquitously, and some pharma companies even started generative chemistry groups. So now this technology outperforms traditional medicinal chemistry approaches in some ways, and does something that was previously unimaginable. We published about 130 research papers in the course of the past 4 years, over 200 something as an extended group if you account the multiple collaborators. And I'm especially excited about aging clocks. So that's the real revolution in our industry, in longevity industry. So since the publication of the first methylation aging clock in 2012 by Hannum and also by Horvath in 2013, I mean, the industry now picked up the concept of the aging clock, and now everybody is using it. We started developing aging clocks in 2015, well, kind of 2014, 2015, and we built predictors of your age in the ultimate healthy state. So technically predictors of biological age, using pretty much every data type you can think of, using deep learning. So we published predictors of age trained on blood biochemistry data. So we have clinical tests. We published, we patented, and well, patent is published, the transcriptomic aging clock. So a predictor of age trained on gene expression data. I think that's the most actionable and valuable clock out there, because it kind of can point you to the interventions that can make you look younger to the deep neural net, or reverse the aging clock, so to speak. We have the proteomic aging clock. We have imaging clock, so I can predict your age from the picture better than human. We have microbiome aging clock. We have multiple other imaging clocks, and tissue-specific clocks as well for both transcriptome and proteome. And it's actually one of the reasons why I'm in San Diego today. So I went to a company called Human Longevity, which I previously did not associate with longevity. So they are more into diagnostics and comprehensive health checkups. But now they have a management turnover, and they got a brilliant scientist who I deeply admire running the company now as chairman, and he also invested in the company, Dr. Wei-Wu He, who was one of the founding research scientists of the Human Genome Sciences, together with Craig Venter, and then went to establish multiple biotechnology companies. Some of them are over $1 billion nowadays, and some of them produce really amazing therapeutic results. And he is quite interested in, really turning this into a longevity-focused business and kind of concierge longevity business. So I came over, and actually I paid. I took a human longevity test. So now I know that I am free of cancer, at least based on the results of very comprehensive MRI and CT scans. And now I'm waiting for the rest of the biomarkers to come back for the rest of the reports. And I'll try to analyze it using our algorithms to see how we perform on their data. Again, I think that everybody, who can afford it, it's not actually as expensive as it sounds, should go and do an HLI test. It's a very good thing to do. Regarding the recent travels, I am trying to minimize my travel nowadays. In 2018, I presented at 67 conferences when our research got hot in generative models. and also in biomarkers of aging. And basically, I got a little tired of traveling. I need to work on Insilico and our joint ventures. So I'm trying to minimize my travel. But I travel mostly to Asia. We have an office in Hong Kong. We have an office, R&D research center in Shanghai, in Taipei. So I go there quite often, and I think that China in general, that's the future for many industries, including ours. If history is an indication of the future, we are likely to see a Cambrian explosion of biotechnology companies in China, and of course, Cambrian explosion of longevity biotechnology companies. That's why we really like to be in the region. We respect China a lot. I think they are going to be the greatest force in our industry going forward.
That's very exciting. Thanks for sharing all those details. A lot of bullet points you hit there. Before I forget, I want to talk a little bit about human longevity, since you're there right now and just went through their facilities. I've researched them for many years. Craig Venter's incredible. Peter Diamandis, I believe, is also a co-founder. What were their facilities like, and how extensive what can you share? I'll just say.
Oh, sure. I mean, it's public. They do it as a mainstream kind of, it's kind of McDonald's for ultra high-end diagnostics. So they productized and turned into service a very complex procedure. So the facilities are state of art. It's a big building. It doesn't look like a hospital. You walk in, you're greeted, you are signed up for the procedures, you give consent to provide your data to the company, and you have multiple levels of consent. So you can consent to basically get the data back, analyzed, and just get it back. Or you can consent for this data to be used in research purposes, or in the development of various drugs and scientific applications, etc. So you actually do have quite a bit of control over what they do with your data, and it looks pretty secure. The kind of core service that I took, so I couldn't afford the ultra executive one. Not yet, but I surely will. So the basic service includes comprehensive blood work. So they draw quite a bit of blood. I'm still yet to get the results and the interpretation. They do the genomic sequencing, so full genome sequencing plus interpretation. They also are quite focused on imaging. So that's one of the very few companies that put so much emphasis on MRI and CT. So you almost feel like you are in an imaging, mecca. They have the latest MRIs, including, the 7 Tesla MRI for the brain. They have really advanced CT scans, and they have very good interpretation software. So they kind of streamlined imaging. So you walk in, you get your MRI done, you get a full body MRI, so which scans primarily for traces of cancer. You get very high resolution brain MRI, which of course scans for cancer, for signs of cancer, but also looks for all kinds of aneurysms, abnormalities, etc. So also looks into cardiovascular health. They also do the calcium scans, so they look at how calcified some of your organs are and give you a calcification score. And at the end, you get all this data combined and interpreted, so you get a pretty good visibility into your health trajectory. And that's why it's quite important to do this often and quite important to do this early. So the earlier you do this, the more data they are going to have for interpretation in the future. So currently there is no kind of longevity protocol that follows the procedure, but I'm pretty sure their new chairman, again, a person I deeply admire, is planning on following up with additional longevity recommendations.
All right, that's very exciting. Just due to the interest of time, I want to move on a little bit, but I'm really excited about what they're doing there. I believe a couple of years ago, I think it was, Craig Venter himself found out from his own technology there that he had, I believe, stage 3 cancer and was able to treat that and is still alive today. Is that right from your memory?
I'm not sure about the stage 3 cancer, but yes, they found prostate cancer, which has been removed, and he's cancer-free. I must say that stories like that are inspiring. However, even if you go for a regular prostate exam, you are likely to find early traces of prostate cancer using, palpation and other methods. So that's not the story that should be highlighted all the time. So they found, they have a paper coming up, and I highly encourage everybody watching this video to promote their paper on PNAS, which shows that many people who came in, thinking they were disease-free, really found something that is pretty transformative. So about 2% of the patients have something that they didn't know about, and if they would have found out about that later, they would have been in trouble. So that is the primary reason for going there. But of course, the secondary reason is that your data is stored, it can be analyzed, it can be used for longevity research. And you're likely to get benefits down the road because, again, their new chairman is just a phenomenal, business-oriented scientist who is likely to transform the company.
Okay, very exciting. Final thing, can you share approximately how much you spent yourself for this?
I would prefer not to tell, but it's kind of low-digit thousands.
Okay, fair enough. I just
so
know
it's not tens of thousands or anything like that.
I just know I get questions in the YouTube comments, so might as well ask. But I understand why you can't share more details.
No, but it's comparable to what you would get pretty much at any U.S. hospital for a comprehensive checkup. It's actually cheaper.
Yeah, I agree. So this interview is supposed to be about you and Insilico Medicine. So let's pivot back. So I want to talk a little bit about your app. I haven't personally been able to download it because I have an iPhone, and I don't think it's available in the US unless I'm doing something wrong. But RYNKL, or for RYNKL. Can you share a little bit about that and just briefly, maybe a couple minutes on that?
Oh, that's a very old project that is currently defunct. So there is a company I advise called Haut.ai, Haut.ai. And what they do is they do very comprehensive skin imaging using AI. So send them, a high resolution picture of your skin, pretty much from any part of your body, preferably from your face or, hands. And they will annotate it in great detail. So they'll tell you, your age, so predicted age. They'll look at redness, sebum, all kinds of skin imperfections, annotate the wrinkles, etc. But now they switched from an app-based model, like they don't do RYNKL anymore, to a cloud service where you send a picture and you get annotation. And they do primarily B2B business, only B2B business, where they work with really large cosmetics giants and annotate skin for them. So that RYNKL app was a first experiment in how to annotate skin using deep learning, because that's where machines outperform humans all the time. And that's where that's really the low-hanging fruit of AI for healthcare. So imaging, voice, text recognition. Those are the tasks where computers outperform now. So we are not great at those tasks as humans, and computers, they do not forget. And now deep neural networks can also generate synthetic data with specific generation conditions. That's what we are pretty good at as Insilico, and also how AI is doing that. So skin is one of the first frontiers where you can see it and believe it, that it outperforms. And I do similar things on other data types as Insilico. But yeah, RYNKL, it's a dead app.
Okay, thanks for
It was
sharing.
a great project, and it was a fun project, fun research project, but it did not stick.
Definitely got to go with what sticks. So I've heard you in a few videos that I've watched over the years say that you don't believe that there's competition in this longevity space. At least you don't see competition. You want to collaborate, and that Insilico Medicine has collaborated with over 250 various companies as of, I think that was about a year ago you said that. I completely agree. That seems to be the general sentiment that I get from interviewing longevity thought leaders like yourself. And it's really exciting and a breath of fresh air compared to the normal business world where competition is very fierce, because we're all aging, and aging is the problem that we're all trying to tackle together. And I don't personally give a damn whether it's Insilico Medicine or human longevity or whatever company ends up solving this. And I think it's probably going to be a collective way to solve this. So can you share your general thoughts on that and any other collaborations that you've recently been excited about for Insilico Medicine collaborations?
Sure. So very often we also collaborate with companies that do not think they are in longevity space. So some companies are going after cancer and some interesting mechanisms in cancer, or they are going after development. So they're looking at how fertilized egg would develop into an embryo, and maybe some of them are doing IVF, or some of them are doing bone marrow transplant, or they're doing cancer cell therapy. So they would not classify themselves as companies involved in longevity research, but they might be contributing more to longevity research and longevity industry than companies that make all kinds of claims, and at the end of the day what they do is they tell you how to diet or exercise. And we try to collaborate with those companies that have very deep understanding of biology and chemistry, have key opinion leaders associated with those companies, and where they can really benefit from our artificial intelligence. So for example, we collaborate with Napa Therapeutics. It's a startup out of the Bach Institute. The Bach Institute is the #1 research institution on aging in the world by far. Actually, there is pretty much no second, so there is a long tail after the Bach. The Bach, they founded a company called Napa Therapeutics, which focuses on the NAD+ pathway. So there are multiple ways to upregulate and increase the amount of NAD+ in our cells. That is very beneficial. So you're technically, increasing the level of kind of cash in the system, and you are manipulating metabolism in a very positive way if you're increasing NAD+. So there are ways to increase the levels of NAD using precursors like nicotinamide riboside, nicotinamide mononucleotide, tryptophan metabolism, etc. And there are ways to increase NAD by inhibiting the proteins that consume a lot of NAD, and actually either lead to cancer or associate with cancer or with some other metabolic, some other diseases, including metabolic diseases. So that Napa Therapeutics identified some promising targets, some of those proteins that modulate the levels of NAD in the cells, and they needed a small molecule inhibitor for those targets. So that's what we are working on. So we are discovering and developing collaboratively those small molecule inhibitors. And actually, if any of the investors are watching, that's a very good company, still very cheap to go after and fund. And it's a lot of very good, credible scientists associated with the company. There are several others. So we also collaborate with Ageless Therapeutics. It's a company which spun out of Biotime. And there we collaborated on target identification. So I've then identified a promising cancer, but also an aging and regenerative medicine target called COX7A1 and a few others. And we collaborate a lot with a company called Givenescence. So Givenescence, it's a mega player in the industry. They basically have taken the industry by the storm when Jim Mellon, Gregory Bailey, Declan Dugan entered the field. So Jim Mellon is one of those, ultra intelligent billionaires. So he is kind of the Warren Buffett of biotech. He was one of the first investors in a company called Medivation, which was acquired for $14.5 billion. Gregory Bailey, also one of the pioneers in biotech investments, and Declan Dugan is the former senior vice president of Pfizer, responsible for drug development. So he took drugs like Lipitor, Zoloft to market, contributed significantly to Viagra. All those super blockbuster drugs that we take every day. I mean, sans Viagra. Well, and I don't take the others, but I'm pretty sure people do take statins and other medication from Pfizer. Pfizer is a great company. And they really bring a lot of credibility to the industry, and they take a drug discovery, drug development angle when looking at longevity biotechnology. So they're going after age-related diseases, after aging, some regenerative medicine, and they created a conglomerate. It's kind of like a mega fund for longevity research. So we help them kind of fuel their efforts with AI. They were one of our very early investors and supporters, and also helped shape the company to where it is today. And they are one of the mega players. We collaborate with many others. We collaborate with the University of Chicago. We collaborate with Zurich. We collaborate with the University of Copenhagen. Actually, that's one of my favorite collaborations. You might have heard about a scientist named Morten Scheibe-Knudsen. He runs the aging lab at the Center for Healthy Aging at the University of Copenhagen. It's the fastest growing aging lab in Europe. They are getting substantial grants and also doing great, amazing science. An amazing place to visit. And they focus on DNA damage, DNA repair, among other things, and also human diseases that resemble accelerated aging. So there we get deep insights into the molecular and cell biology of aging from those kind of angles, from rare diseases and from DNA damage, DNA repair. We support a postdoc there, provide some of our tools, and we also run an annual conference together with Morten Scheibe-Knudsen. It's called Aging Research for Drug Discovery. Last year was our 6th annual. We do it in Basel in Switzerland together with the pharmaceutical companies, and it's part of the Basel Life, big industry trade show and a conference. And this year we're going to be doing it at Columbia University. So it's September 2nd to September 4th. We hope to turn it into one of the largest events in the world in longevity biotech. And again, Morten is just such a productive player in our industry that he managed to organize that conference and do so much research. Also looks great. So, I mean, many longevity scientists, they look, they don't care about themselves, and they look very old, and he also looks young. So
I completely agree, and I think that that's really important. I'll take this opportunity to say I think you look really good for your age. I think, what are you, 40 or 41?
yeah,
Yeah.
but I do look my age. I just don't sleep, so that's my problem.
Oh man. So my last interview, you should check it out. I interviewed the sleep doctor, Dr. Michael Breus. I think sleep is the most important thing that folks can be doing to impact their own aging right now. I mean, there's all these drugs, there's all these exciting things. I report on it, I talk about it. You're in it all the time, but we just need to sleep. It's the body's best way of healing itself. But I understand it's exciting, and it's hard to sometimes find the time for folks like you to sleep, right?
Yeah, so I take a little bit different angle. So right now I'm, working 20 hours a day, and I'm just being optimistic about the future. So
Yeah.
I think that my time is better spent working.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate you doing all the hard work. I want to mention real quick, University of Copenhagen. I also interviewed Steve Ludwin. Vice News did a story on him. Have you heard of him before?
Yes.
Yeah, so I interviewed him in November or December. Very fascinating guy. For folks who don't know, he's been injecting snake venom into himself for over 30 years. And they have studied his blood at University of Copenhagen to hopefully help with any type of anti-inflammatory, anti-aging treatments, but also just to help just create anti-venom treatments so that folks who get bit by snakes can get help there.
Yeah, but I must say that again, it's not the level of Morten Scheibe-Knudsen, not comparable. Yeah.
Correct. We need to separate those things. And I just found it fascinating. And Steve, for what it's worth, I think he's 51 right now. I think he looks pretty darn young. I haven't seen him in person, but he looks pretty darn young in HD. So who knows? But don't go out, start injecting snake venom. I'm not promoting that.
Yeah, for sure.
Can we go rapid fire real quick? Because I know you have to go.
Yeah.
So let's go rapid fire. So first of all, LEV Sciences stands for Longevity Escape Velocity Sciences. It's a new website that a friend of mine, a new friend, Vladimir Trofanov, created and that I'm promoting. I did a video on it. I encourage you to check it out. We have Dr. Bill Andrews on board. We're trying to get other longevity thought leaders to join, where we can bring all the research globally together, because it's too much for any one person to keep up with. You're doing your best. And you're doing great, but it's really difficult. So we're trying to bring people in where they can actually plug in their research and share it, and people can interpret it. So just want to plug that. You don't have to reply, but just wanted to throw that out there real quick. I'll have a link in the description below. And then you've already talked about a little bit about what you're doing in San Diego right now, but can you just real quickly fire off your anti-aging regimen? Maybe it's not even what you're doing because you might not be getting the best sleep right now, but what do you think people should be doing right now in general? We all know about personalized medicine, but in general, what can people do right now that maybe they might not know about to help improve their health?
Right. So again, I would go for comprehensive diagnostics, regular comprehensive diagnostics, massive data collection about yourself. So you need to record as much as possible and ensure that it's in a format that can be machine learning friendly in the future. So not just PDFs. And what I usually advocate for, so it's very difficult to pinpoint one single technology or regimen that will help you, reach that longevity escape velocity. So right now, I would just recommend going to school, getting into biotech, taking courses in this area. There are multiple ways to, augment your knowledge in this area. You can take Coursera courses. You can take courses at major universities, correspondence online, in person. Getting to all of the longevity conferences, including ours. Again, September 2nd to 4th, Columbia University, this year, 2020.
I should say, Alex, we'll have a link in the show notes below. So everybody check the show notes in the description if you're watching on YouTube. I'm going to link everything that he's talked about. I'm going to plug Alex's LinkedIn profile so you can follow him there. Follow him on Twitter, over 6,000 followers on Twitter. Follow him on Facebook. Go to Insilico Medicine, read his book. All the links will be in the description below.
Right. So agingpharma.org. So get involved, get into the community. I wouldn't recommend too many geroprotectors at this point in time unless you are doing comprehensive diagnostics all the time, because again, and remember my words, most of the geroprotectors will be in one way or another oncogenic. Like even if you just extend your life significantly using some interventions, it's likely to increase your chances of getting cancer, even if you just live longer, right? But of course, that also is true for cells at the cell level. So if you start taking any kind of intervention that extends the life of cells and prevents them from either becoming senescent or dying, you have higher probability of developing cancer. So it's extremely important to go for comprehensive diagnostics regularly if you are taking a regimen. But right now, I would be very careful with any of those interventions. I would also recommend, psychological rejuvenation. So just switch your longevity expectations to, 130. I mean, set it to 122 and a half or 125. Current record, 122 and a half. If you actually don't believe that, Jean Calment lived so that long, for one reason or another, the next, longest living person is 119 right now. So you can see it and believe it. So you can do better, because those people, they were born, during the times of World War I. They didn't have, frozen food. They didn't have freezers. They didn't have antibiotics. They didn't have, the same standard and level of care that you are getting. They didn't have this bright future where, longevity interventions are just around the corner. Comprehensive diagnostics are not there. Most of them saw their, parents die very early, or even, if it's not early, it's just you didn't see extreme lifespans, and they're still alive, right? Or again, the record is 122 and a half for somebody who died, but you can do better. So it's just very unreasonable to set longevity expectations based on your prior family history or mortality tables or, your general thinking about where you're going to be. It's like, for example, I never felt better than today. And yeah, I don't sleep. I don't do many other things that probably should, contribute to longevity. But I feel great. I feel very optimistic. And, if you want to feel slightly better, just set your longevity expectations further. Then you'll also act as a younger person.
Yeah.
So that's my advice. Yeah.
That's great advice. And the centenarian research actually supports that strongly, because centenarians are very optimistic people. Even in their older age, they're still generally happier for the most part, from my research. So pessimism is not going to help you live long because of probably the placebo effect plays a very important role in there, keeping all the healthy hormones pumping out of your brain and not the negative, cortisol, stress hormones all the time. So I'm very optimistic as well too, but I don't want people to get complacent. I want to create more Alex out there to get involved. And so I think that was great advice, telling people to get, involved, whether it's Coursera or going back to school. I know you have to run one final.
I'm late for my other meeting. So Thank you very much for interviewing me, and try to spread the word, try to stay on the, side of credible. So no snake oil. And
definitely,
let's motivate the people to go into longevity research.
Definitely. That's what I'm doing every day. And thank you so much for the time. We'll let you get to your other meeting and we'll talk soon. Have a great day.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Don't go anywhere just yet. I have a few afterthoughts I want to share with the audience. And first, I want to say thank you so much, Alex, for taking the time to do this. He has a really busy schedule, as you guys can probably tell, and we got to squeeze him in. I did not know that he was going to be in San Diego at the Human Longevity Incorporated Company, HLI for short. And that's really exciting because I think they're doing some of the most exciting work on the planet. I hope to interview either Peter Diamandis or Dr. Craig Venter or any other person involved there. And it's really exciting what he's doing there. But I had many other questions that I wanted to ask Alex, which unfortunately we didn't have time to get to. So I know a lot of people complain that sometimes my interviews are an hour or two or even 3 hours, but longevity is a complex subject and there's so much going on and there's so much changing. And there's a lot of questions I need to ask to get the right answers and bring the right information to the audience. So without further ado, here's a few other questions I was going to ask Alex, and share with me in the comments below what you guys think about these questions. Share any other questions that you might have for Alex, and I'll see if I can get him back on for round 2. So I wanted to know from Alex what he thinks about gene therapy. And I follow Alex on Twitter, and I saw just about 10 days ago or so in mid to early January, he was at JPM, a conference, and he learned quite a bit about gene therapy. So I wanted him to expand upon that because I'm really excited about gene therapy and CRISPR in particular, CRISPR-Cas9, and its role in potentially helping us cure or stop or slow or reverse human aging. So that was one question. I also wanted to have a little fun and get into the philosophical realm here, talking about the singularity with him a little bit, talking about, is this whole reality we live in potentially a artificial simulation? Because he's a really deep guy, he's really educated, and he has a really strong background in IT as well as biotechnology to be able to answer these questions in a very thoughtful way. I also wanted to understand when he thinks we are going to be able to cure human aging, a longevity escape velocity, get his take on that basically. And I also wanted to know how Alex likes to learn. I mean, we learned today that he says he sleeps maybe 3 hours a night. He's working 21 hours every single day. He's an incredible human being. I can't do that personally. You saw my last interview, hopefully with the sleep doctor, Dr. Michael Breus. I sleep 7, 8, sometimes 9 hours every night, and I need it. So I'd love to learn more from Alex about what his day-to-day is like, how he's keeping up with all the research, how he's running Insilico Medicine. He has a number of PhD folks who work for him. So would love to go into a little bit more depth there. And then talk a little bit about some other animals like hydra, multicellular animal that doesn't appear to age, or at least ages very, very slowly compared to all other organisms. The scientific terminology is actually they're immortal cells, just like our germ cells are immortal in humans. But that doesn't mean the same word as what most people use when they say immortal. I've also seen in Alex's presentations the life as a video game, and he talks about how a lot of people want to improve their lives by getting more money, more resources, maybe more political power, extend their life, and a few other things there that we all are trying to do to enjoy and improve our life. And I find that to be in the same realm of kind of the philosophical questions that I wanted him to expand upon, because he's a really interesting person. So I'll leave it there for now. Just want to let everybody know that the 40 minutes flew by for me. I really appreciate Alex being here and answering these questions, but I'd love to speak with him again to go into a little bit more depth. So please like this video and share this on any or all of your social media outlets. Please comment below with any questions that you have for Alex or questions for me or general feedback. And also make sure that you follow Alex on his social media and the links that we'll have in the description below. Also, if you like this podcast, these YouTube videos that I do, and you want to support me, there's a few ways that you can do that. So you can go to my Patreon, which is in the description and the link below on YouTube. You can also donate via PayPal or by my Bitcoin Cash cryptocurrency address for all my cryptocurrency Bitcoin Cash enthusiasts. I really appreciate it. Whatever you can do definitely helps so I can keep bringing you this content. And let me know in the comments below who you want me to interview next, because There's so many fascinating people out there in longevity, and I've been following so many of them for over a decade. But it's also important to me that I get feedback from the audience, because I'm really trying to build a strong community here for longevity enthusiasts like myself. And I want it to be a community, which means that we need more engagement. I also want to discuss Bill Faloon with Alex, because Bill Faloon is, of course, running the large anti-aging clinical trial right now. And Bill and Alex have collaborated in the past. So you can check my interview with Bill Faloon out up here if you haven't already done so. So that's all for now. My next video is going to be about taking all of this longevity information that I have gathered from interviewing all these longevity scientists over the last year and researching this for about 15 years, and sharing with you, the audience, what you can do right now to stay as young and healthy as possible. So stay subscribed for that video, and we'll see you next time.
Forever young, I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever?
One life,
Forever
one love,
and ever.
one soul.
Untitled.